Well, hello everyone. Welcome to this creative meetup. My name is Rufus Deuchler, and before I begin, I will simply show you a quick video of what Adobe is all about. Let's pump up the volume.
There's an untold story. Rather go out in a blaze of glory. I can't hear you. I don't fear you. I live now 'cause the bad die last. Dodging bullets with your broken past. I can't hear you. I don't fear you now. Wrapped in your regret. What a waste of blood and sweat. Oh, I wanna taste love and pain. Wanna feel pride and shame. I don't wanna take my time. Don't wanna waste one life. I wanna live better days. Never look back and say, could have been me. It could have been me. Yeah. I wanna taste love and pain. Wanna feel pride and shame. I don't wanna take my time. Don't wanna waste one life. I wanna live better days. Just rather look back and say, could have been me. It could have been me. It could have been me. It could have been me. Could have been me. It could have been me. It could have been me. It could have been me.
Experience is Adobe. Experience is everything. And this is basically our mantra. We want you to be able to create experiences for your customers, for yourselves, and for the world. So basically, what I'm going to be doing in the next 30 minutes is walk you through a little bit what Creative Cloud is and what our idea behind this whole thing is. And do you recognize that person? No? So everyone says, who's that guy? Well, that person is you, all right? It's me. It's all of us. Because what we had to learn in the past few years is to become agile, to become flexible, just like this dude. Because things are changing so fast that if we are not agile and not flexible, we will be left behind. And basically, what we're trying to do is really to enable you to live comfortably in that flexibility and agility with our Creative Cloud products, with our Creative Cloud experiences, and the whole ecosystem that comes with it. So basically, there's three major trends that we are seeing and that I want to talk about today. The first one, of course, is the cloud. And I will be going a little bit more into what we mean by the cloud and what the cloud means to you. And then there's, of course, the whole mobile aspect, the way we interact with mobile devices, the way we create with mobile devices. And more and more important as well is the whole social aspect of creativity. And this is also something that is deeply rooted in our hearts at Adobe, to create this social environment for everybody to be able to work together and to feel part of a community. So let's begin with the cloud. The cloud, of course, is something that we've come accustomed to use in our everyday life, whether we like it or not, or whether we even know we're using it or not. The cloud is there. I mean, your email is on the cloud, whether you want it or not, whether you are happy with that or not. And that allows you to check your email on your mobile device, when you're at home on your computer, wherever. You can access this information. So basically, all these seamless experiences, just like reading email, is something that we at Adobe are trying to do with our creative applications, to create that seamless, frictionless experience for you, the creatives, to move from one device to the other, from one application to the other, from one idea to the other. And this is basically what we've been working on in the past 4 years. The Creative Cloud is only 4 years old. 4 years ago, we came with that very bold idea of we're gonna move to a subscription plan, and we call it Creative Cloud. And with that, we promised a lot of things. We promised that we're going to grow very quickly, that we're going to include new features very rapidly inside of the applications. We promised that we would create an infrastructure for mobile workflows. We promised we would create a community. And this is exactly what we have today with Creative Cloud. We have that frictionless workflow that is enabled by the cloud. So how many of you use Photoshop? It should be almost everybody, right? Everybody uses Photoshop. Photoshop has changed so much in the past years, and the cloud makes it even more powerful. Let me just show you what we can do with Photoshop today. For example, in Photoshop and the other apps as well, we have the typefaces in the cloud. We have the ability to turn on and off fonts directly from the cloud using Typekit. So if I go into Photoshop, for example, here, and select this text, and go into my character panel, and I start moving. Don't you love that you can do that in Photoshop now, just moving from one font to the other? But if I'm not happy with the fonts that I have on my computer, I can go in here and say, OK, add fonts from Typekit and take me to the cloud, and let's see what other fonts there are that are available there on Typekit. And then I can go into Typekit here and say, OK, I'm looking for a font that is a sans serif. I want it to be able to sync it, because there's fonts that are web fonts and some fonts that are syncable fonts, some are both. I want to create a heading with it, so the system also already shows me different options that I can use as fonts for this. Oh, I like this, clone rounded Latin. Okay, so let's just say I want to download this. Let's say I'm going to use this font, regular and bold. Clone rounded, I'm going to sync, because I always forget the font that I download, that's why I need to clone rounded. Okay, so now it's synced. Okay, Typekit is syncing the font. And now I can close this, and we're going to see a little arrows up here saying, OK, this font is now synced. And when I go back to Photoshop, and it was, what was it called? Clone, OK, clone rounded, and there it is, okay? And boom, I can use that font that I just discovered in the Creative Cloud, okay? This is one aspect that the cloud has allowed us to do, to work with things that were previously impossible. Like, it was much more difficult before the cloud to actually do things like that. Let's go back to the presentation. The other thing that we've included since last year is Adobe Stock. Basically, this came with the acquisition of Fotolia, and this allowed Adobe to provide over 55 million images that can be used by our users. A huge, huge image bank. And there's various types of images that we can use. I'm going to show you in a second a new type of stock image that we've presented last week during the launch, or 2 weeks ago. But what's really interesting here is that if I go back to Photoshop and I go into my Creative Cloud panel here, or maybe in my Libraries panel, let's open the Libraries panel, and let's say that I'm looking for images that, let me just go here in the search. All right, and you see that here it says search Adobe Stock. So maybe I want an image from, I don't know, a beach, because it's so hot, so I feel like, maybe a beach would be fine. All right, let's make something with a beach. All right, and interestingly, you can see that I can search for photos, I can search for videos, I can search for illustrations. Let's search for photos here. And even vector art. Let me just select the vector art for a second without the photos. And you see this is all vector art that I can, for example, use in Illustrator. Okay? Then let's go back to photos, take the vector art away, and say, OK, this looks really fresh, and I want to use this picture. So first, I'm going to save this to a specific library. Let's actually create a new library. I'm going to call it London. Create. And beach, let's find that beach image again, okay, and download it to London. Okay, so basically now I have this image inside of my library, and when I open it, I can start using it. I can start modifying it. I can start applying filters to it as a smart object. And if I go here into my layers, no, into the, I'm lost here. Where's my libraries? I can start like making changes to that image. So let you use the camera raw filter, for example, and maybe I want to have the sky a little bit darker here. Okay, something like that. Maybe I want to have the clarity up a little bit on the picture and say OK to this. And this is now applied to the image. And then right from within the libraries, once I'm happy, once my customer is happy, I can go here and say license the image. Okay? And the image that I've just changed will automatically update to the image that doesn't have the watermark. Actually, let's do it. Let's license this stock image. OK. And now it'll synchronize the image, and it'll then replace the image. It will then replace the image. I did something wrong in the workflow, but it will replace the image with the one that doesn't have the. Actually, when I open this one, you'll see that it doesn't have the watermark. Okay, and this is something that we had an independent research look into that, and this is actually 10 times faster than any other stock workflow. Let's go back to the presentation. Oh, no, before that, I wanted to show you on the website, if I go here to the Adobe Stock website, we're introducing a brand new collection, the Premium collection. Okay, these are high-value images. Okay, they're a bit more expensive than the images that you typically find in stock, but they are done by top photographers and curated by a team of experts. So basically, here you find really top photography that you can license directly from Adobe Stock. Okay, so there's different kinds of things that you can get from Adobe Stock. Let's go back here and let's look at. Oh, this is a really interesting project that was commissioned by Adobe Stock, and that was taking I think four paintings that got missing during time. You know, either they got lost or stolen or just disappeared from circulation. And basically, the task for the designers, the photographers, the compositors was to recreate the paintings using only stock imagery. Okay, I'm going to show you just one video of how this was being done on this masterpiece by Rembrandt, The Storm on the Sea of the Galilee. Pretty amazing, only using Adobe Stock imagery. Just to show you the breadth, the width of the amount of images that can be found on Adobe Stock. Then we also have the live collaboration that's enabled by Creative Cloud. So let's say, for example, I'm starting in Illustrator here, and maybe I'm working on this piece here, okay, and I have various animals, and maybe I want to use this dog here on my architecture piece, okay, for like a logo, okay? So all I need to do really is to open my libraries, and let's open the London library that I've just created with the beach image. All I need to do is to take that object and put it inside of the library. The cool thing with these Creative Cloud libraries is that now all of this is synced between my devices, between my applications, everywhere, all right? And the other cool thing is that I can share these libraries with people. I can share them with specific people. I can open the libraries to the world simply by giving a link, and I can make the libraries also read-only, okay? So people can take stuff out of the library but not put anything inside of the library or make modifications. So this is really great for agencies who want to have their corporate imagery, their corporate colors, their corporate styles, everything in a specific folder that they can share with whoever needs to work on the projects. Now, if I go back to Photoshop, and let me just go back here to my architecture PSD, and here in my layers, okay, I have the image now, and let's put this wolf, this howling wolf. I'm going to put the logo here, okay. And the cool thing is that I can place the logo, I can leave it here, and if I ever go back to Illustrator and actually open that logo in Illustrator and say, okay, this logo is now slightly different. I want it with a white fill and a red line around it. So let's just do that very quickly. Let's go here and say like this. Okay, let's take it from here, make it slightly thicker, save it, make it slightly smaller so it fits inside of this image, save it, close it, go back to Photoshop, and this image is already changed, right? Because that's the magic of the cloud, right? Because I use it from a specific library. Since we're in Photoshop, let's just look at a couple of other things that were introduced last week. One of those is called content-aware crop. So basically, when you crop an image, like for example here, and I want to crop this image so that it is straight, you see, all of the parts that are outside of my grid, this is parts of the image that I will lose, okay? If I escape out of that and now turn on Content Aware, what Photoshop will do, it will actually leave more of the space here, okay? So let me just make that straight here. And you see that some of the areas are black around, but inside the grid still. And as soon as I hit Enter, Photoshop will use Content Aware and actually create what was missing from the content that was around it. Okay, I see. Yes, Content Aware. Content Aware this is what Adobe Magic is about. This is what these kind of things that you see and you say, whoa, yeah, that's the kind of thing. Let me show you another feature. What we've introduced, I don't know, those of you who were with me last year, you've seen it on the iPad. We've now moved the feature on to Photoshop, and basically what I can do now is in Liquify, Photoshop will actually recognize this as a face, okay? And I can go in here and say, okay, make the eyes bigger or smaller, okay? Or I can say, okay, let's make the nose higher, or, oh God, I can, endless hours of fun. And Rufus should be smiling less, okay, or more, right? All right, so basically this is not something that you will typically use every day, but like to do very fine tunes on faces and things like that, it can be very useful. And like I said last year, there is one smile that really bugs me, and this is this smile here. And I can do that now in Photoshop as well. And basically here, if I go into the Liquify filter, it'll even recognize a classical painting for me. And everybody says Mona Lisa's smile is like the best smile ever. I say no. Now is the best smile. Okay, so I can go back here. All right. Before, after. Which smile is better? All right. And another feature that I really quickly want to go over is, so there's Adobe Magic, there's workflow enhancements, there's things to make you to make things faster, and this is something that was really thought out to make your selection process faster. So if I go here into Select and say Select and Mask, basically we now have one single window for selections with all the tools that you need to create a mask, okay? So basically I can go in here and with the quick selection tool, I can say, okay, this is my model here. I'm not going to go over the whole body. I'm just going to concentrate here over the hair, okay? Because that's basically what everybody's interested about. I can say, okay, let's remove the green here, okay? Something like that. And then I can, still in the same window, I can activate Smart Radius. I can start using the Refine Edge brush and go in here and say, okay, I want to keep the hair, but not the green. So I start in the hair and I start painting over the green. Okay, something like that. Very quickly. And then I can also go in here and say, I want to decontaminate colors, remove more of the green. And you can see it right away inside of the hair. And the really cool thing is that if I go look at the black and white mask, you really see what type of work I've just done. And all that in a single window, okay? It makes it much, much faster to actually produce things like this, all right? Just one thing in Illustrator before we move away from here. One thing that, let me just go here. So for example, if I have this complex illustration and I want to export just some of the assets, I have this new, where is it? The asset export panel. So basically I can say, okay, this is one asset, this otter here is another asset, maybe this animal here is also an asset that I want to export. So I can really create an asset library of things that I want to export. And then I can, in here, say, okay, I want 3 different PNG versions, one that's the real size, doubles the size, or 3 times the size, and maybe also an SVG, all right? And then I can just press the button, and in one click, I've exported all of these different images. Or if I have something like this with different artboards, I'm just going to zoom out of this for a second, with different artboards. And I go here, File, Export, Export for Screens. I can say which ones I want to export, which artboards I want to export, and again, I have the possibility to define the size, the quality, the whatever I need to export these images as. This is extremely useful for when designing screens, when designing buttons, when designing icons and things like that that need to be exported many times. Let's go back to my presentation. Oh, I'm zooming in, zooming out. All right. So collaboration in the cloud. Capture the inspiration in the cloud. And here again, maybe I can show you this. This is something that we've added last week as well. Let me just open that for a second and go here into my iPhone and turn on, let me just escape out of this for a second and turn on AirPlay and share my phone. One thing that is now super easy to do is with this new Adobe Capture app, we've added a new section called Patterns. And with these, I can now create patterns. Other than, shapes are these things that, I can create a shape very quickly. I've got a drawing here that I did the other day, and I want to create a shape. So I can go in here and say, okay, I want this. I can define the quality of it, and create the shape, take the picture, next, and then it'll draw all the vectors for me. And once it's in my library, I can then open it in Illustrator and continue working on it. Yeah, I see nice, some surprise. You didn't know about that? This is old stuff. This is something I showed last year. Okay, you should come more often. Okay, so next, and I can save that, save the shape, and it's inside of my patterns folder. And then I can, of course, also take color schemes. Like if I want to create a new color scheme, I can go in here and say, okay, create a color scheme from these favorite colors of mine, and then use those in a Illustrator, InDesign, or Photoshop project. I'm going to cancel out of this. I can even create brushes. I can create looks for video and even for photos, like from colors that I see in nature that I want to bring inside of my video workflow. I can do that. But the cool thing is these patterns. Let me show you. Actually, let's just create one. And basically, all I need to do, and let's see if we can create an interesting pattern here somewhere. It's always under the table that things are happening. So let's do this. All right. And basically, I can zoom in. I can zoom out. That's kind of interesting. I can find different types of patterns. This one is new, brand new here. So I can say, okay, this looks super cool. Okay? So all right. I can then go in here. I can start moving this thing around. I can rotate it still a little bit, to really define the pattern. Next, zoom in. Pretty cool what it looks like under my table, huh? All right, so next, and this is the pattern that I created here. So I can give it a name, pattern, London. Okay, perfect. Thank you, autocorrect. For once, you were right. So return and save the pattern inside of my pattern folder. Okay, and now it's there. Okay, and then I can use that pattern in Adobe Photoshop Sketch or inside of Adobe Photoshop directly as patterns. Okay, so very, very interesting what you can do with these capture tools. Basically, the reason why I showed that is because this is what we mean about capturing creativity around you and bringing it into the cloud and having access to it inside of the Creative Cloud. So let me just go out of here, and if we go here into my Photoshop here and just say, let me just cancel out of that and go into my libraries and open my pattern library. I think that's where I saved it. Okay, here's my London pattern that I can use right there. Okay, I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to sync anything. It just did it by itself. Oh, my time is running out. Mobile to cloud to desktop. That's another very interesting thing. And let me do that on my iPad a second. For example, and let me escape out of this and go to Photoshop and turn on AirPlay here. There we go. Okay, mirroring. Will it do it? Yes. Quit. Okay. Ignore. Let's just say, what is it called? Reflector. Reflector 2. Okay. Let's try again. AirPlay. Pro. Mirroring. Damn it. Ignore. Okay. I'm going to do something very secret here. I'm going to open a sketch in Adobe Photoshop Sketch. You have to believe me. And actually, you know what? I can show you like this. Okay, this is a sketch that I did with my Apple Pencil here on Adobe Photoshop Sketch. And maybe I want to continue working on that sketch in Photoshop. Okay, or new also in these applications in both Photoshop Sketch and Illustrator Draw on the iPad is that you can now have layers, and you can work on layers to make more complex drawings. But the cool thing is, the thing that I wanted to point out is that I can, from my mobile workflows, I can say, okay, send this to Photoshop, to Illustrator, etc. So I want to send this drawing to Photoshop. And what will happen, Adobe Photoshop Sketch will take that image, say sent. We're going to see the little blue arrows in my Creative Cloud, and boom, that image is now inside of my Photoshop, and I can continue working on it. Okay? How cool is that? Okay, that I can move from one device, especially now that this device has become super useful for sketching, for making pencil art and things like that. It's really, really the best workflow ever. Let me move back to my keynote. Go back here. Okay, there we go. Play. All right, so mobile to cloud to desktop. Okay. So basically, we have the best of both worlds. Let's talk a little bit about social in the few minutes that I have left. Social is becoming super important, and one of the things that we've created is this ecosystem of artists and creatives that is Behance. And let me just tell you a few stories of Behance users, that have found customers, that have found fame just by being on the platform. So let's start with Patrick Seymour. He's from Montreal, and he did these really cool illustrations with lines, okay? And guess, we saw that and said, oh, this is so cool. And why don't you draw the Illustrator splash screen for us, okay? So, this guy from Montreal suddenly found himself doing this. But it gets better. He also got noticed by the team behind Usher, and found himself to get commissioned to create all the illustrations that appear behind Usher during the concert. And all that thanks to Behance, because Behance was the platform for him to expose his work to the world. And that's how he got discovered. Okay, there we go. Oh, Computer Arts just tweeted, thank you. There you go. Okay, so basically, to get the creativity noticed and being rewarded, that was a great place to be. Let's see another thing. The Alessandro Strickner from Rome. Doesn't sound like a very Roman name, but he works out of Rome, and he's got this very graphic style that's like very 80s kind of airbrushed kind of thing. How many of you are old enough to remember that? Some of you, okay. I remember that. I was doing the airbrush as well. But anyway, that's his style. That's the stuff he liked. So suddenly he got a call from Hollywood saying, "Hey, can you help us do the graphics for the Jump Street, the animated series?" I don't know how many of you have seen 22 Jump Street. Yeah, pretty stupid movie, but but at the end the credits they have 23 Jump Street, 24 Jump Street, the animated series, all these fake things, and he got to do the graphics for these titles in the series, okay, like this. So if you ever see the movie, wait for the end credits, and you'll see his work in the final credits. And it's all about sharing your passion, sharing your talent and your skills using Illustrator, using Behance. One last one, Manila. This is the story from Kirby in the Philippines. And basically, he was posting these really great and intricate sketches and doodles on his Behance profile. And he got noticed by a famous book editor who called him and said, hey, why don't we do a coloring book? Apparently, this is something very big among adults now, to like adult coloring books. Can I ask you, frankly, I mean, how many of you do coloring books? Really? Oh. You have that book, all right. Ooh, well, who would have guessed? Well, anyway, this guy from Manila, got interest in his drawings by this publisher, who then, published these drawings and created a book that is, that's very, very successful. It's a bestseller in its category. Oh. So basically, what this also defines is a new geography. Like designers don't need to be in London, New York, or Amsterdam, or Tokyo anymore. They can be anywhere. And one thing that we've seen using our Behance data, okay, my little red light is flashing there, just a little bit more, is that we've seen that there's very interesting things happening. Like, for example, in Ukraine, like 23% of the members, there's been a rise in members from the Ukraine on Behance. And in Sao Paulo, for example, in Brazil, we had an increase of 21% of Behance members. If we go on, we've also discovered that the tool of the year, the most used tool for artwork on Behance was Photoshop, Illustrator. And you're going to ask me, why, Rufus? Why is Illustrator the most used tool around the globe? Because Illustrator is really the tool to create SVG. It's the tool that lets you create crispy and pixel-perfect art and then export that from Illustrator. And people are using it a lot for UX design, okay? Before we actually introduced Adobe Experience Designer. The color of the year. Okay, so Pantone has its color of the year, but also Behance has its color of the year. And any guesses what the color of the year is? Pardon? Yellow? What? Red. Yes, red. Bright red, actually. And this is basically, that's the most popular color that we've seen on project covers. That people really want it to be bold and proud and loud in their project covers. The creative field of the year, and that I guess comes as no surprise, is experience design, okay? And experience design, this is the whole thing that's from the video that I showed at the beginning. It's all about creating experiences. And Adobe has there also a beta, if any of you are interested, a preview of an application called Adobe Experience Designer. It doesn't show me the time I'm over, but 5 minutes. Let me just go very quickly in XD just to show you what XD does. Basically, I can open a sample file here, and it allows you to create experiences for people on screens, on various devices and things like that. But the really cool thing is that it also allows you to create prototypes. So, for example, if I click here, I say, okay, I want to go from here, I want this to go over here, and if I click here, I want to go back here, okay? Basically, I can do very complex things like this, and then I press a little play button. Oh, okay, so what happens if I click here? Oh, I go back there. What happens if I click here? I go there, all right? So basically, it really allows me to create these experiences very, very easily using Adobe Experience Designer. And I can also export them and provide my customer a link that the customer will be able to look at on their mobile device and see, that's interesting how Rufus solved that problem for me. Let's do it, And the other interesting thing is, if I close it for a second, don't save, is that I can create all these experiences for various devices. We also have all the various UI kits. So if I want to design for Android, I already have all the Google material ready here for me to use inside of my app. But more interestingly as well is the fact that we actually take provide feedback. Provide feedback means people can actually put their feedback about the app and upvote or downvote features, and our engineers will look at that list and develop the product that people want, okay, based on the things that people vote for, okay? So that's a whole brand new approach as well. All right. That was Adobe XD. And then, of course, mobile, and we've seen some of the examples that I've shown. We have a whole family of mobile applications, Adobe Capture, which I've used, Illustrator Draw, Photoshop Sketch, which interact directly with your desktop applications, Adobe Comp, which is great because you can do compositions that you can then send to Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, and now also Muse. I can create a Muse page in Adobe Comp and send it to Muse and continue working with it. Photoshop Mix and Photoshop Fix. So there's really a lot of different things. We're so involved in this mobile story that we've actually had an event in New York a couple of weeks ago called Make It on Mobile, and I'm just going to show you some of the results. And one of the designers actually came from London. Dan Mumford is his name. He's actually here from Shoreditch, and he did incredible illustrations using this one, the little bird on the tree. All right. And here are some of the work that was produced with the iPad Pro and the Apple Pencil. Incredible. And with that, my friends, my time is up. Thank you for being creative. Thank you for being here with us today. We have these great 3 speakers after me. I hope you will all enjoy the evening, and thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.